Shah Abdul Latif. Please join me in welcoming on stage William Dalrymple in conversation with Anju Makhija and Fahmida Riaz. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I think the poetry of Shah Abdul Latif is fairly well known in India today, but millions know of him without realizing it in his other names, Julelal and Maz Kalanda. Anyone that's ever listened to a single line of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan or the remixes by Massive Attack or the millions of different versions sung across South Asia will have encountered Shah Abdul Latif without realizing it. When I was working on 9 Lives 3 or 4 years ago, I went up to Shah and immersed myself for a while in Shah Abdul Latif's world and the extraordinary syncretic rituals which continued to be observed in the mazar there. And as I was doing it, I was using translations. I don't have Sindhi myself. And I was using translations of both these fine translators in order to try and comprehend him. And having used their work, I meet them for the first time in the flesh, which is very nice. So I'm the chela to my 2 gurus here. Maybe we should start off just by asking Anju to talk about the man, the story of the poet, his life, and the world that he came from.
Yeah. Thank you, William. I'll just read a little introduction from my book, Seeking the Beloved, the poetry of Shah Abdul Latif, which I have translated with Hari Dilgil from Kutch. I think often we go through sessions and we find that we presume we know everything about the poet, but in this case, by the questions I've been asked, I think I would like to place Shah Abdul Latif in perspective. William, of course, has already given us quite an eclectic viewpoint of the poet. And Shah Abdul Latif was, as Fahmida will tell us, was in a way appealed to the common people. And many of these Sufi poets really, really appeal to the common folk. But these days it's, of course, become very, very, very fashionable, Sufi. I don't like to use the word ism, but so I will just stay with Sufis. Now, Shah Abdul Latif was born in 1689 to 1752. He has been aptly called the Shakespeare of Sindh. He remains one of the greatest Sufi poets in history, along with the likes of Rumi, which I'm sure all of you all are familiar with. Often chanted in spiritual seances, Latif's poems have an immediate emotional appeal. They are about love for humanity and depict the seeker's direct relationship with God. This is one of the main things about Sufis, is that direct relationship with God. And as both of us read, and even she will sing something, we will come to know that this will form the core of, besides the fact that the Sufis were great integrators. As we know, they took from both Islamic and Vedantic traditions. It is no mean task. I mean, seeing what we have faced right here at the festival, for the Sufis to stand up and say, we are taking from both Islam and Vedanta. Further still, the Sufi poetry is enriched because, as we all know, Sufis came from Persia. And we have this beautiful symbolism about the wine bearer, the gallows. So, and even to push this a bit further, Shah Abdul Latif, as William was just mentioning, traveled towards India. He lived with the yogis for years and years and years. And there are two surs here in his work, which is called Shah Jo Risalo. We will get to them, and just a line or two about Shah Jo Risalo, and then we will pass on to other things. So Latif authored a major work, Shah Jo Risalo, which according to most sources has 30 surs or musical compositions based on classical Indian ragas. I would say loosely because I've tried to understand, and they are loosely based on classical Indian ragas. And the Risalo can be described as one long veil of separation from God. The last point, the Risalo was preserved at the mausoleum of the same poet in 1754. Later, the scholar Ernest Trump published it in Germany in 1866. Subsequently, there was a Muslim edition which has been in the British Museum since 1844. So that's a bit of background.
One of the extraordinary facets of his life was, I think, when he was going off traveling, he was on the rebound from a love affair, wasn't he? Could you talk a little about that? Because he came from a very orthodox background.
Yeah, Sayyids.
But it was this lost love that propelled him out onto the road.
Yeah. I can see William is a romantic at heart. Actually his father was a Hakim. Hakims, like we all from a background where we know Hakims. And to put it in a simple line, his father wasn't well, and he went to see this young girl who had some problem with her stomach or something like that. And she was all dressed, and he was only allowed to feel her pulse. That's all. He didn't see anything except her pulse. And then I guess he was young, he was 20, 25, and he took her little finger in his hand and said, in my crude way I'll put it, I'm sure he said it beautifully he said, the one who has held the little finger will never be able to be with anybody else. And disappointed he went with the yogis.
This is like the beginning of Midnight's Children, with the doctor examining the girl through the hole in the sheet.
Yeah.
It's obviously it was a troublesome business being a doctor in these parts.
Yeah.
So he's propelled out onto the road, and he travels not with other Muslims, but finds himself in the company, particularly of Naat yogis, I believe.
Naat yogis,
Yeah.
Naat yogis.
Could you talk a little about the Naat yogis? We had them yesterday in the art history session on the miniature, when we saw these extraordinary Naat pictures painted in Jodhpur from the Garden and the Cosmos.
Yeah.
Very particular Rajasthani. I mean, they took root very strongly in the Rajasthan and Sindh in the 18th century. Had great political ambitions, but believed that if they claimed that their exercises and breathing techniques gave them supernatural powers to fly, to see into the future, to hear, to see over great distances, and finally, if the techniques were fully mastered, to turn devotees into immortal beings, Mahasiddhas, who had even greater powers than the Hindu gods. So he's mixing with very heterodox types of Hindus. These are not mainstream. He's being influenced by the extreme heterodox fringe. Is that fair?
Yeah. So much has been said about the yogis and the extraordinary powers and whatnot. I think it's only fair that I read a verse of Shah Latif to give you the perspective that he had. Is that fair?
Please do.
Instead of my perspective.
Perfect.
After he spent some time with them, and this is called Sur Ramkali, for those who have the book, I'm reading from page 136. 134, first of all, a few verses. This is what he learned. If a yogi you want to be, Silence your mind. Accept your fate. With a burning flame within, beads in hand, obey the great master. If a yogi you want to be, drink the cup of nothingness. Become that nothingness. Seeker, ordinary ears do not decipher whispers. Replace these donkey's ears. Sell them off. Tune in to the inner ear. Just two more. With your face turned in the right direction, the whole world is a mosque. With your face turned in the right direction, the whole world is a mosque. Great height the yogis reach, higher than knowledge itself. Tell me, in which direction should I bow my head? He is everywhere.
Ah. Before I turn to Fahmida, I think it's very, very important and interesting to understand how incredibly syncretic religious identity was as late as the 18th century. We have very clear ideas when we fill in a passport form, name religion, it's either Hindu or Muslim. There's no middle option. You tick one box or the other. But seems to be a conception that was not the case in the 18th century. There was a porousness of popular devotion which overcame straightforward sectarian differences. And to this day, when you go to Shah, to the shrine of Shah Abdul Latif, there is still a Shiva Linga in the Mazar. It was formerly a Shaivite shrine, and the Damal, which still goes on in Bit Shah today, is, some scholars believe, an Islamicized transformation of what was originally a Shaivite dance form, and the Damal comes from the drum of Shiva. The drumming originates in ancient Shaivite ceremonies. If I could also just read a little bit of adapted from your translation, which I stole for 9 lives. The most sincere form of flattery is plagiarism. This is Shah Abdul Latif again from Sur Ramkali, talking about his days wandering through Sindh with the yogis. Yogis are many, but I love these wandering sadhus. Smeared with dust, they eat little, never saving a grain in their begging bowls. No food in their packs, they carry only hunger. No desire to eat have they. Thirst, they pour and drink. These ascetics have conquered their desires. In the wilderness they found their destination, for which they searched so long. On the path of truth, they found it within. Hearing the call before the birth of Islam, they severed all ties and became one with their guru, Goraknath. Now, sitting by the side of the road, I look for them. Remembering these sannyasis, tears well up. They were so very kind to me. They radiated brightness. Yogis are many, but it is these wandering sadhus that I love, says Latif. Fahmida, would you like to talk a little about what Shah Abdul Latif means to the Sindhi people and where he stands in the Sindhi canon?
What he means to the Sindhi people, see, I would like to pay that homage. Bhittija bhittai, bhitte vasai, nur munju to pujayo. Bhittija bhittai, bhitte vasai, nur munju to pujayo. Munju to pujayo, man ju murado. Munju to pujayo, dil ju umeedon. Bhit ja bhitai, bhit te vasai, nur munju to pujayo. This is what Shah means to the peoples of Sindh. He's a saint, and his work is still recited in every village, and at the same time in the towns also. He's a poet of the commoner as well as of the special intellectual elite. That is what Shah means for the people of Sindh. He is compared to Rumi as well as to Shakespeare in many ways. And because he has used the folk tales of Sindh to express his message. So this is what it means. Now, another thing which I would like to ask you, I don't know if, many people amongst you are familiar with Hindi. Can I read out something which I've written in Hindi? Right? I have translated, I was given the work to translate by Sindh Heritage Foundation in Karachi. This is an organization, and at first I was very wary of it because I had earlier translated the works of Sheikh Ayaz, but that is modern Sindhi. Now this is the 17th century Sindhi, and I was really very uncertain. But then they said you must, and then finally I agreed and I translated it. And this is a selection from all the surs. See, because Shah wrote all his poetry was written to be sung and to dance upon, right? Much like Rumi. So this entire work of Shah are surs, which is the ragas, and some of them are his own inventions. So I wanted to, this is a selection from most of his ragas, which I translated. It is to be sung by Abida Parveen, and probably that CD would be ready in a few months' time, perhaps now. But my own translation I wanted to call Parado So Sad, which means the echo and the call. Parado Se So Sad, Je Var Vai Ji Lahi, Ag Me Hua Gad, Budhan Me Bathya. The echo is the same as the call. If you understand what I'm communicating, at first they were one. It is our hearing that has split them into two. So this is the Sufi concept, and this is what Shah also communicates, that our senses, with which we negotiate our path in the world, and with which we, feel the touching, the hearing, the smelling, all these with which we live in this material universe, is also a veil to the ultimate truth. This is what it says, and this is what I want to call it. What I've written about him, actually, I believe that Hindi and Urdu are basically the same language. So silly politics has split them into two. Otherwise, it is the same language. So, this is what I wrote about him. रूमी से कितने मिलता जुलता है शाह, और साथ ही कितने अलग अलग भी हैं. रूमी का शम्स तबरीज था, शाह के लिए खुदा खुदा है, इसको वो अनगिनत रूप में देखते हैं, वो जाम तमाची है. इन अबियात में उन्होंने खुदा को पहाड़ी, गडरिया, सम्मा, सरदार और बलोच के नाम से पुकारा है. उनके एक सुर में शाह हमको जीसस क्राइस्ट की भी याद दिलाता है. मगर रूमी की शायरी बहुत अर्बन थी. इसके मुकाबले में, क्योंकि वो एक कूनिया में रहते थे जो कैपिटल था उस वक्त की जो सल्जूक एम्पायर था, मगर शाह जो थे वो किसी कोर्ट के साथ बंधे हुए नहीं थे. शाह के कलाम में सिंध का रंगा रंग ज़मीन है, गर्म रेगिस्तान जहाँ लू के थपेड़े चलते हैं, बिल्कुल प्यासे पहाड़ी सिलसिले, खेतों से हरे भरे मैदान, झीलें, लहरें मारता समंदर और उनके रंगारंग बासी, उनकी भेड़ बकरियां और नित नए पंछी और उनके हल बैल, ये सब है जो आपको शाह के उसमें मिलता है. अनलाइक शाह के कलाम में हमें मिलता है झोपड़ियाँ, बरसात के उमड़ते बादल, कड़कती बिजलियाँ, टूट कर बरसता मैं, और इस बरसात से दोबारा जिंदा होती हुई धरती जो जैसे मुस्कुराने लगती है और सब्जे से ढक जाती है। इन सब मैनिफेस्टेशंस में वो खुदा को देखते हैं, और ये कुरान शरीफ में भी आया है। वो कहते हैं कि खुदा इनमें सब में अपना जलवा दिखा रहा है। अज पो मुंजो यार वसण जो वस कयो, आज फिर मेरे यार ने बरसने का लिबास पहन लिया। उमड़ते बादल देखकर वो कहते हैं आज फिर मेरे यार ने। शाह में जो है वो एक पैथोस है। दो तरह के सूफी हैं, जलाली और जमाली, हम लोग उर्दू में कहते हैं। वो जो कि एक द राथ ऑफ द गॉड जाहिर करते हैं, और वो जो ब्यूटी। शाह बेसिकली जो डिवाइन ब्यूटी है उसके पोइट नजर आते हैं। जैसे आप जानते हैं जो 3 अब्राहमिक रिलीजन्स हैं जो मेसोपोटामिया के अंदर पैदा हुए, जूडाइज्म, क्रिश्चियनिटी और इस्लाम, एक ही नरेशन है। इनका गॉड एक ही गॉड है, वो इनविजिबल है, और उनका गॉड जो है वो एक गॉड है। सो देयर इज नॉट मच डिफरेंस एक्चुअली। आई वुड से आई मीन कुरान शरीफ is actually Islam is Judaism in Arabic more than anything else really, with just a few added stories of that particular land. Otherwise it's just the same really. So it is the youngest. Islam was the youngest. तो इसमें इस्लाम के अंदर इन दोनों चीज़ों का, जो जूडाइज्म और क्रिश्चियनिटी का कोई जिस्ट निकाल कर थोड़ा सा भरा, और वो सूफियों ने उसका लिया। मगर जो सूफीज़म था उसमें बुद्धमत और जैन मत का रंग भी है, और साथ साथ यूरोप के ईस्टर्न जो कोस्ट था वहाँ जो बसते थे ट्राइब्स, उनकी पूजा पाठ भी है। जहाँ कहीं जिस कौम जिस रेस ने कोई पॉजिटिव बात सोची है, सूफीज़म ने उसको मोती की तरह चुन लिया है। और अब देखिए हम कैसे हो गए हैं। आई हैव रिटन दिस। हर गैर नस्ल गैर कौम को सिर्फ बुरा कहते रहते हैं। पिछले दिनों मैं ताओइज्म पर कुछ नोट पढ़ते हुए ये पढ़कर हैरान हुई थी कि देयर इज अ वर्ड ती इन ताओइज्म जिसके कई मायने हैं, मगर बुनियादी मतलब है तरीका। ती का बुनियादी मतलब है तरीका। अंग्रेजी में लिखा था द वे, राइट। अरबी ट्रांसलेशन द वे का तरीका ही हो सकता है, यानी वो प्रिंसिपल्स जिस पर ये पूरी कॉस्मोस बंधी हुई है। तो दीज आर द प्रिंसिपल्स। एंड मुमकिन है कि तरीक़त, अब हम लोग जो है ना, देखिए तसव्वुफ तो इस्लाम में बहुत ज़्यादा है ना, बहुत बड़े बड़े मुसलमान सूफी हुए हैं, तो वो इसको एक 2 तरीके हैं इस्लाम के। एक शरीयत जो कि सिर्फ जो कि लॉज हैं, और दूसरा तरीक़त। तो तरीक़त जो है वो सूफियों का तरीका है। तो हो सकता है कि ये ती से भी आया हो। हिंदू जोगियों को शाह इतनी मोहब्बत और ताज़ीम से देखते हैं क्योंकि वो तलाशी हक में हैं। शाह कहते हैं जोगी घुटनों पर सर रखे बैठा है, वो आलम सुरूर में है, उसके घुटने कोहे सीना हैं। So they are Mount Sinai, his knees. The knees of the yogi are Mount Sinai. जहाँ वो खुदा का जलवा देखता है, और इसकी चोटी, the plate on the, on his head, एक पर्दा है खुदा से उसकी नज़दीकी का. It hides, it conceals his closeness to God. वाकई सूफिया ने ये कमाल का काम किया। तासुब और हर किस्म के तासुब आदमी में कैसे कैसे घुस आता है। सूफियों ने न सिर्फ इसे ख़त्म कर दिया, बल्कि उनके कलाम में हर किस्म का भेदभाव बहुत लाफेबल नज़र आने लगता है। शाह की पोइट्री पेस्ट्रल पोइट्री है। जब ससी कहती है माँ इस चरखे को तोड़कर फेंक दे, मैं नहीं काटूंगी, मेरी महबूब ने, अच्छा उसमें आपको मतलब यू वुड लाइक टू नो कि इट इज़, वो तो हिंदुइज्म, हिंदू मत, जैन मत, इसमें तो सूफी भेदभाव करते नहीं थे। لیکن جو ان کا ٹریڈیشن ہے, ان کا ڈکشن ہے, اس میں کافی حد تک اسلام بھی ہے اور اسلامک ٹریڈیشن بھی ہے. اور وہ گاڈ جو کہ جس نے ایک پیراڈائز کہیں بنا رکھی ہے, اس سے بھی جو وہ بات چیت کرتے ہیں, جو راز و نیاز ہیں انسان کے, ڈیوائن پاور جس نے اس کو کریٹ کیا ہے, اس کے ساتھ جو راز و نیاز کرتا ہے, اسے لاڈ کرتا ہے, وہ دکھاتے ہیں. تو جب سسی کہتی ہے ماں اس چرخے کو توڑ کر پھینک دے, میں نہیں کاٹوں گی, میرے پریتم نے میری جان کو خسارے میں ہی تو ڈالا ہے. تو اس بیت میں لفظ آیا ہے ہانجا, ہانجا کہ مکھے وجو ہانجے میں. اس کا مطلب میں پہلے بھی جانتی تھی, لیکن لغت میں دیکھا تو خسارہ نظر آیا. یہ قرآن شریف کی آیت ہے, قرآن شریف میں آیت ہے جس کا مطلب ہے بے شک انسان خسارے میں ہے. تو اس وجہ سے انہوں نے وہ بھی ڈکشن ساتھ ساتھ لیا ہے. رومی کی طرح شاہ کی ابیات میں بھی قرآنی آیات کا سندھی ترجمہ بھی ہے اور کبھی کبھی عربی میں بھی نظر آتا ہے. انہوں نے, شاہ نے کہیں بھی اللہ کا لفظ استعمال نہیں کیا ہے, اور وہ ڈیوائن پاور کو سما, گڈریا اور بلوچ کہتے رہے ہیں. تو اس طرح سے ایک سر میں ہمارے نبی کی بھی تعریف کی ہے, یعنی جو پروفٹ محمد تھے, مگر وہ ان کا نام نہیں لیتے ہیں بلکہ ان کو ایک بلوچ سردار جاکھرا کہتے ہیں, اور جاکھرا جو ہے وہ لفظ جاکھوڑ سے نکلا ہے. یہ قدیم سندھی جو ہے. اچھا اب دیکھیے آپ کو ان کی ایک سر میں ہے, میں رات بھر اس کی آرزو میں تڑپتی رہتی ہوں, وہ گائیں چرا رہا ہے, ان کی گھنٹیوں کی آواز سن سکتی ہوں میں. یہ یہاں پر جو گائیں چرانے والا ہے, دا کاؤ ہرڈ, اس میں آپ کو کرشن کا جلوہ نظر آئے گا, کیونکہ کرشن واز دا کاؤ ہرڈ. اور وہ محبوب جو کہ انسان کا محبوب ہے, انسان کا جس سے وہ پیار کرتا ہے, بیلوڈ ہے, وہ ان کے بہت سی ابیات میں از اے کاؤ ہرڈ. تو وہ یہاں پہ آپ کو کرشن کا نظر آئے گا. یہاں میں آپ سے یہ بھی ضرور کہنا چاہوں گی کہ خود رومی کی جو مثنوی ہے, اس کا جو آغاز ہے بانسری سے, وہ بانسری بھی آپ کو کرشن کی بانسری کی یاد دلا سکتی ہے, کیونکہ اس بانسری سے وہ پوری دنیا کو ایک, جس کو کہنا چاہیے کہ اس کی کریشن اور اس کے چلانے میں وہ بانسری کام کر رہی ہے. جوگی ننگے پاؤں ہنگلاج جاتے ہیں شیو کی پوجا کرنے. یہ ایک جگہ ہے, اب بھی ہے, یہ بلوچستان اور سندھ کے بارڈرز پر ہے, تو اس کو لاہوت لامکان بھی کہتے ہیں. لاہوت لامکان یعنی کہ سمجھیے آؤٹ آف دس ورلڈ. وہاں ہے ہنگلاج, اور شیو کی, شیو دیوتا کے وہاں پر کچھ کیوز ہیں جہاں پر ان کی پوجا ہوتی تھی. جوگی جو ننگے پاؤں ہنگلاج جاتے ہیں, یہ لکھتے ہیں, تو ان کو کون لے جا رہا ہے, ان کی منزل تک ان کو گائیڈ کون کر رہا ہے, حضرت علی کرم اللہ وجہ. یہ لکھتے ہیں. دس واز دیئر پرسیپشن. Ali was a respected figure, a well-loved figure amongst the Muslims, and he feels that these yogis are being guided by Hazrat Ali, and that's what he's writing. That was their conception of religion and of God.
Could I cut in and turn to Anju? Just, how do you think we've lost this syncretic, this porousness of faith? How is it that this world, which was so thoroughly integrated in the 18th century, has become so fractured today?
Well, that's a huge, huge question. I'm sure you know that. I'll take it from a personal perspective. These Sindhis, when they came from Pakistan, my parents, when they came from Pakistan to India, and they came to Bombay, they lost everything. Economic is fine. You can always recover money. But they lost the culture. And you're talking about, we were born without knowing that Shah Abdul Latif was a poet from our background. So the whole concept of Sufism was completely lost. Is he still read among the Sindhi diaspora? Yeah, but the post-partition generation does not speak Sindhi.
At all.
No, very little. And that too, in the smaller towns. But in the cosmopolitan places like Bombay and Calcutta, they have, lost the language. So having lost the language, what else is left? You can't read your culture. I had to collaborate with Hari Dilgir, who was 80 years old when we started. He was living in Kutch and in Adipur, because I can't read either. So all translations have to be collaborative efforts. And it took us 5-6 years of hundreds of letters back and forth, because at 80 years he was not going to use the email. So, to answer your question, this transition, I think, has been really, really affected by politics, history. In a sense, I'm combining politics and history.
And have you, in the letters that you've got since your translation came out, have you found that it's Sindhis who are reading it, or is it who are your readers?
That's really, really a good question, because I find that the Sindhis are not that interested in culture. I keep on telling them, Sindhis in Bombay are first interested in colleges, opening colleges, second hospitals, third or first probably making money. Culture is their last priority. It's a lot of foreigners who are buying it, and rather than the Sindhis. It's really, really, really a dismal situation.
Is Shah Abdul Latif immediately comprehensible, the original 18th century verse, to an ordinary Sindhi rickshaw driver or a taxi man in the street?
Well, mostly you should say the peasantry, right? Because Sindhis are, for at least till a decade ago, they were not living so much in the towns of Sindh, but they were in the rural area. Yes, very much understandable. Now, I would like to tell you what else it means to the educated Sindhi. That again is in Hindi, right?
If you could maybe just ad lib rather than read, just describe in your own words.
You see, the thing is that when I was translating it, some people said to me that, you are just putting religion into it and this is rubbish. Shah's poetry has nothing to do with religion, but rather it's a poetry of a struggle. Because Shah's poetry has been used by for the political struggle of Sindhis. That's where also it became extremely important. But
why is that? In what sense? Why is he a political poet?
Why did it become? Because Shah puts a lot of emphasis on what in our Sufic terms we call the riyazat, right? Which is a struggle. The struggle to reach your aim, right? And for which you go through suffering, because the yogis and the Sufis went through suffering. Therefore, they feel that this suffering the Sindhis have to go through to get their national rights. So,
is that an appropriate use of Shah Abdul Latif?
Absolutely appropriate. Yeah. Yes, it has been used very effectively by the political movements in Sindh, Shah's poetry, because for instance...
Do you find the MQM quoting Shah Abdul Latif?
Pardon?
Do you find the MQM quoting Shah Abdul Latif? Is it a kind of Sindhi... who's using it and in what way? Mostly
the Sindhis have used it, because unfortunately, unlike India, Pakistan has not been run like a federation, which it should have been. Therefore, there is an unresolved question of national rights. So Sindhis had their Shah to support them. Of course, amongst the moderns there was Sheikh Ayaz, but the poetry of Shah has been interpreted in political terms very effectively and very successfully. This is what it means for them.
And returning to you, what drew you to the poetry? Was it its mystical quality? Was it the sheer quality of the verse? If you were struggling to read it and so on, what first was it? You felt you wanted to uncover part of your heritage that was lost?
Well, obviously it was part of the heritage which we have almost totally lost here. And now, by hearing her, I see it is alive and it's being used for political purposes. I just want to read, while we talk of Sufi poets and divine and dancing and, the wine symbolism, I'll just read two verses of how powerful she spoke about Christianity, Islam, and how the Sufis brought it together. Let's not forget, if we want to use it in a way that is powerful, if I were to use it in a way that's powerful, of course, the first purpose is, of course, to be close to the divine. It's a wonderful way of going directly to the divine. There's no twining to go through. But look at these two verses. What does he think of Islam? What does he think of Christianity? What does he think, importantly, also of us, of Hinduism? Reciting the kalma, the holy verses, reciting the kalma bears no mark of real faith. Where deceit and ego lurk, outwardly a Muslim, inwardly a fake. You cease to be a true kafir. Kafir is a non-believer. You cease to be a true kafir. Refrain from calling yourself one. Unfit for janyo and tilak. Unfit for janyo and tilak. You are not even a true Hindu. A face like Moses, in truth, a devil. Wretched one, why not drop the mask? And the last one, those who make their body a rosary, mind a bead, heart a musical instrument, hear songs of love. God is one, God is infinite. Even in sleep, they remain awake.
Fahmida, would you read us from one of your translations?
Yes, I would be reading because first of all, I was, just give me a minute because I'm looking for Surram Kali also, a selection of Surram Kali that I have done.
If you're still looking, shall I quickly read, just to give you a second, just to give you an idea of the cult today at Bhasha, which I think many Indians would find surprising. Bhasha is the principal Sufi shrine of Sindh, and yet it is still filled with Hindus. I was led around by a Bihari refugee called Lal Peri, the Red Fairy, who'd lived in the shrine and around the shrine for 30 years. Lal Peri was aware of the importance of Hinduism at Bhasha and pointed out to me the many Hindus at the shrine, the watermen at the entrance distributing cups of free spring water to pilgrims, a Hindu Sajada Nashin directing the cleaning of the shrine chamber, and many Hindu pilgrims and ascetics from the wild places of the deserts coming to ask Lal Shahbaz's blessing. The Hindus were said to regard Lal Shahbaz Kalanda as a reincarnation of the sensual Sanskrit poet turned Shaivite ascetic Bhartrhari, who in the 4th century AD renounced the pleasures of the court of Ujjain and moved to Sewan, where he lived as an ash-smeared sadhu and was later cremated on the site of the present shrine. The Hindus also know Lal Shahbaz by a third name, Jule Lal, originally the Hindu water god and lord of the Indus River. This name and the legends that go with it, they have passed on to the Muslim devotees of the saint, some of whom still believe that Lal Shahbaz controls the ebb and flow, the angry storms and peaceful meanders of the great river of Sindh.
Okay, so this is from Surram Kali. Their kneeling down is an arch of the temple. Their bodies in themselves are mosques, exploring ceaselessly in their prayer call. They are so consumed, oblivious of all others. Only their heart guides them as they journey along. How dare you judge them, recounting their sins? How dare you bring your paltry reckoning to those who are far above you? The whole world is a mosque, his visage visible in every arch. It defies all wisdom, all sagacity. In what direction would you bow your head? All directions are pointing only towards him. Now this is about the yogis. Their faces buried in their knees, the yogis experience bliss. Knees, face, a bent over body, they sublimate to meditate on the divine. Those knees are Mount Sinai. The Vairagis have not brought their east wind with them. Covered in the cloth of the secret are these strangers. Covered in the cloth of the secret are these strangers. The plaits of their hair conceal their closeness to him. Sell your ears in the market, get a new pair of ears. With them you may hear what he says to you. Cut off your ears, O hermit, before the naked one. The naked is the yogi. Lest your youth comes back to life, lest arrow-like their love pierces the core of your heart. Set ablaze love fire in your heart. Let it burn your body, your soul. Lead such a life as can, but lead such a life. Set ablaze love fire in your heart. Let it burn your body, your soul. Lead such a life as can. Turn the blazing fire into water. This is what he says. Can turn the blazing fire into water. If you wish to be a yogi, break all the bonds of life. Join your soul to the souls of those who were not born at their birth. Then you will reach your destination, the arena of love. Eagerly I went looking at the straw cloisters. They have left the yogis, wandered away to Ram. How can I learn which way they have taken? None tells me. Oh, where have they gone? Where have they disappeared? They pierce their ears, the wanderers in the soul's spheres. They always sit facing the northern breeze. Harsh trials they set for their limbs and consume them, transform themselves into non-beings. Oh, let us go and look at their straw dwellings. They pierce their ears, cut them off. They are of the first perception, says Latif. They do not change their path. Let us go and look. Let us look at their thatched dwellings. Your giving up, yogi, needs a little more. Cut, pierce, burn alive yourself. But the fire you set ablaze must be such that can turn into water. You cannot bear the torment? Then leave, go away. Piercing the ears alone is not sufficient. You will only set a bad precedence for others. You can make out a yogi at the very first sight. In appearance, they are never hale and strong. Their bodies have thinned out. They look exhausted, always grief-stricken. Always grief-stricken, they roam around in the world, hiding themselves from all, whispering quietly. The naked fakirs going to Nani on a pilgrimage of rocky Hingalaj, they saw Dwarka worshipping Shiva. Ali guided them to their destination, Nani. I pine for their companionship. Without them, I do not wish to remain alive.
Can I cut in there just to ask a little bit about the current state of the Sufis vis-a-vis the Wahhabis? I mean, every time we turn on the telly, we hear atrocities of a bomb going off in a Sufi shrine in Lahore, or Shias being persecuted and attacked elsewhere. Are you worried that this world, that's surviving in the shrines and dargahs and mazars of Pakistan, is under threat?
Well, indeed. You see, I think, and you know, because of the statistics, there are several sects amongst the subcontinental Muslims. See, religion takes a shape and form according to the situation prevailing in the land in which it exists. So it is the Barelvi faith which is associated with the Sufis, right? The Barelvi point of view, we call it the overwhelming majority of Muslims of this subcontinent of India and Pakistan and Bangladesh are actually, they belong to the Barelvi sect. So these Wahhabis are also a small sect. However, with this Al-Qaeda, because Al-Qaeda being led by bin Laden actually belongs to this Wahhabi sect. And Wahhabism is the sect of the ruling class of Saudi Arab, right? So because of them, and because they sought refuge in Afghanistan, so they then, and of course because of a lot of money pouring in, a lot of petrodollar pouring in, and unfortunately a lot of money from the US also coming their way because of this fight that they had with the Soviet Union. But what happened was that they became extremely powerful, and the basic thing was that they are of a Wahhabi point of view, which considers every other sect as kafir. For instance, sort of outside Islam, like the Shias. Now, everybody knows that in the subcontinent, Shias are a very important part of the Muslim community. And I, as a Muslim, had never read or heard that Shias are non-Muslim. So, of course, we were under great threat because they're armed to the teeth. However, now there is, unfortunately, Pakistan's military establishment made a terrible mistake by supporting them, and by...
But do you think that they will get sufficiently powerful to close down the mazars, to close down the dargah?
No, there is a talk about somebody beheading, this Indian soldier. What I want to say, these people now have gone totally out of control. They have been attacking Pakistanis, killing scores of Pakistanis every day, and they have been beheading Pakistani soldiers. So many of them, they take away their heads. So they're totally barbaric. And now is the time. The time is ripe for, talks of friendship to begin, because what they sowed, what our establishment sowed, there is a great realization in Pakistan that this was a disastrous mistake that they made. Yeah.
With your permission, I would love just to read a short passage about a conversation I had with two old fakirs outside Sewan who were worried about the Wahhabis coming. And I was taken out by Lal Peri into the desert to meet this old fakir called Sain Fakir. Sain Fakir was a venerable, frail, hawk-nosed old sage in his 80s, with liver spots under his eyes and fabulously gnarled hands. He sat down cross-legged on the mat, and before long was talking of his veneration of the two great saints of the region. I am the murid of Lal Shahbaz Qalandar, he says, and the talib, the student of Shah Abdul Latif. In Sindh, we don't differentiate between the two. They are inseparable, like Allah and the Holy Prophet. Saying this, he suddenly launched into a verse of the Risalo, singing with a surprisingly strong and melodic voice for a man of such age. As he completed each verse, Lal Peri cried out, Haq, truth, and Jia Latif, victory to Latif. When he was finished, he smiled and lay back, accepting a pan that Lal Peri had rolled for him. My ancestors were all followers of Lal Shahbaz, he said, but it is the poetry of Latif that has always set my heart aflame. We believe that his verses are more than poetry. They are the essence of the spirit of the Quran. The Quran is not always easy to understand, and as a result, we Muslims fail to take the real message of the Prophet. Only the Sufis teach the true path, the path of love. What about the mullahs, I asked. The mullahs distort the Prophet's message for their own purpose, said Sain Fakir. Men so blind as them cannot even see the shining sun. Their creed is extremely hard. It doesn't understand human weakness. It excludes everyone, said Lal Peri, even other mullahs at times. Sain Fakir shrugged his shoulders. In this world, everyone commits sin. The Sufis have always understood this. They understand human weakness. They offer forgiveness. And people will always love those who forgive. So you're not worried when you hear about the Taliban blowing up shrines elsewhere in Pakistan, I said? Latif has a saying, he said in reply. Deal only with things that are good. If you trade coal, you will be covered in black soot. But if you trade musk, you will smell of perfume. Good deeds have good effects. Bad deeds have bad effects. So you think that what happened at Rahman Baba's shrine, which was the great Sufi shrine of Peshawar, which was blown up 2 years ago, couldn't happen here? No, he said firmly. They'll never be able to destroy the great shrines in Sindh. The Sindhis have kept their values. They will never allow it. Lal Shahbaz Qalandar will protect us, said Lal Peri, and we will protect them. And what would you say to the mullahs and Wahhabis who say that what happens in Sufi shrines is not Islamic? I said.
Yes.
The Wahhabis are traders who sell their faith for profit, said Lal Peri angrily. They are not true Muslims, just fuel for the fires of hell. A lot of it is about power, said Sain Fakir more gently. The Sufis are a threat to the mullahs because we command the love, the loyalty, and the faith of the ordinary people. No one is excluded. You could be an outcast, a fallen woman, and you can come and pray at this shrine, and the Sufi will forgive you and embrace you. You don't even have to be a Muslim and you'll be welcome, said Lal Peri. What difference does it make if you call him Allah by his Hindu names, Bhagwan or Ishwar? These are just words from different languages, said Lal Peri. The mullahs are always trying to fight jihad with their swords, said Sain Fakir, without realizing that the real jihad is within, fighting yourself, achieving victory over your desires, and the hell that evil can create within the human heart. Fighting with swords is a low kind of jihad. Fighting yourself is the greater jihad. As Latif said, don't kill infidels, kill your own ego. Jia Latif, said Lal Peri. We talked all morning about the Sufism of Sindh and Sain Fakir's belief that it would never succumb to the Wahhabis. One of Sain Fakir's sons brought green tea, and we sat in the shade beside a bubbling rill of spring water as the midday sun beat down, sipping tea and tearing great flaps of newly cooked naan. Every so often, father and son would burst into song, illustrating some theological point with a verse or two of the Rizalu. You must understand, said Sain Fakir, putting a hand on his heart, everything is within. Everything is inside. That is what we believe. Both hell and paradise. It is all within you. So few understand. There is a story about Lal Shahbaz Qalandar which Sain Saab once taught me, said Lal Peri. One day Lal Shahbaz was wandering in the desert with his friend Sheikh Bahauddin Zakaria. It was winter and evening time. So they began to build a fire to keep warm. They found some wood, but then they realized they had no fire. So Bahauddin suggested that Lal Shahbaz turn himself into a falcon and go and get fire from hell. Off he flew. But an hour later he came back empty-handed. There is no fire in hell, he reported. Everyone who goes there brings their own fire and their own pain from this world. It's time to open it up to the audience now. One question.
Thank you, Anju and Fahmida and William, for, first of all, William, for scheduling this session on the Sindhi poet. And secondly, Anju, I want to comment as a Sindhi on what you said about the Sindhis, their priorities. Now, yes, we built colleges, we built hospitals, we educated our children, but culture did come last because survival had to come first. We left Sindh and we came on this side of the border, and we have completely established ourselves despite the great loss of language and culture, which we feel very deeply, and that is why I say that this session is so very, very important to me personally and to the rest of the audience here. Thank you.
We'll have.
सबसे पहले तो मैं JLF के ऑर्गेनाइजर्स का धन्यवाद करता हूं कि उन्होंने सिंधी के महान कवि, सिंध के अजीम शायर अब्दुल लतीफ़, शाह अब्दुल लतीफ़ के ऊपर यह सत्र रखा है। मैं एक बात कहना चाहूँगा कि शाह साहब कवि कालिदास, गुरुदेव रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर और शेक्सपियर के बराबर ही के शायर थे। उन्होंने रूरल एरिया को लेके जो लिखा है उसका जिक्र बहुत कम हुआ है। लोक कहानियां जो हैं उनकी, शाह की सत सूरमियों, उनका कहीं जिक्र नहीं हुआ। स्वसई पुनू, नूरी जाम तमाची, मूमल राणो, एक्चुअली 17वीं शताब्दी में उन्होंने इन नारी पात्रों का जो
Could we have a question, sir? rather
हाँ,
than
जो
statement?
बहुत चरित्र चित्रण किया है उसका उल्लेख होना चाहिए था। थैंक यू।
I'd just like to tell, I'd like to just answer quickly. He is right, because almost half of Shahjo Risalo is, are spiritual allegories. Put in very simple terms, through folk tales, through ordinary folk tales that he mentions, that we all know here in Rajasthan, whether it's Sasui Punu and Hiranja Hidden News, but folk tales like that, he explained to us very easily the concrete relationship we can have with God. He equated spiritual love to human love. And maybe we'll have another time when we will talk about that.
Yes, actually, we must also feel thankful to the Britishers who first discovered his work. And for instance, Sorley's translation, I thought it was wonderful, and they did a great job. But he did a great job. He wrote a whole book on Shah Latif, which remains still very useful, very valuable about this. But then later also, so what happened was that, as I said earlier, after independence, Sindh was in Pakistan, and because in Pakistan they kept on, trying to create only center is strong government. So Sindh was neglected, unfortunately. Or Sindh and Balochistan especially were totally neglected. Otherwise, supposing supposing Pakistan also gave importance to its provinces or its states, then they would bring it up. Actually, there is no other poet like Shah Latif, and he's truly great.
It's a good place to end.
But the greatness has to be communicated even to the rest of our subcontinent, which is of course very large. But this has to be, sort of communicated to them. Now we are trying to get him translated into English so that he is introduced properly, like Rumi, to the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anju, Fahmida, a big round of applause, please.